Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be going over another little tidbit of information that's come out of the rumor mill. And thankfully, it is not the Star Wars rumor mill this time, thank Christ. But this one is actually out of Legendary Pictures, and apparently they are moving forward with a Warcraft 2. Now, in addition to this, I'm just going to reiterate, this is a rumor. Nobody's come out and said that there's going to be a Warcraft 2, except for the person who's divulging this information. But basically, the idea is that because Warcraft, the original one, did so well overseas, it earned a vast majority of its money in overseas markets, and it did actually particularly well in China, which I guess is what the studio is paying attention to, all the China money. And I guess that's the main reason why they're thinking of going ahead with Warcraft 2 and, mostly marketing it to, overseas and Chinese audiences, although they tend to do that with most movies anyway, at least most blockbuster films. Now, the original Warcraft did not do a lot of money. It did a little under $450 million, which means it probably broke about even. The budget for it was somewhere in the 160 to 180 range for millions. So it didn't do anything amazing, and in the United States, it didn't even break $50 million at the domestic box office, which is disappointing. So now you have this. So you have a number of issues going forward with this. So the first Warcraft does leave itself off where you can continue the story. It doesn't, burn any bridges or do anything like that. It's not like a self-contained story for at least not all of it, but some of it. So as we're going forward, you can add to that. You can expand on the characters that survived the first film. I don't necessarily think the acting was very bad. I think the acting was all right. I particularly did like the lead orc. I thought he was very good until, the ending of it, obviously. And the main human character, Lothar, he did a very good job. That's the lead from Vikings. I can't remember his actual name. I think his last name begins with an F. But I was kind of lukewarm on the first film. I didn't necessarily think it was bad, but worthy of a sequel? I mean, again, it's one of those things. The movie did not do well financially. It did okay, basically. It broke even. It made its money back. The studio could wash its hands of it and not deal with it. Now, if you're going to move forward with a sequel and your sole goal is to, I shouldn't say sole goal, but your main goal is to market to Chinese audiences, that has not worked very well for most companies lately. Look at Disney and Mulan. Mulan did horrible numbers in China, and that's really the only reason why that movie was made, let's be honest. Or at least to be made the way that it was and marketed the way that it was. That was the only reason why Disney wanted to release that film, was because they wanted to appeal to Chinese audiences. That was the whole point. So going with this, if you're going to do that, you're not going to be able to sink $200 million into this film. Like I said, the original budget for this was 160 to 180 million, somewhere around that range. So I don't think you're going to see that budget again. I think you're going to see a lesser budget, which I think is going to lead to maybe better story and less spectacle, which might not be a bad idea. So you could go with that. So not to say that it can't be done. It definitely can be. It's just I don't necessarily think that the first Warcraft film did well enough to warrant a sequel. Now, as for the validity of this rumor, if it is China money thereafter, I could see them greenlighting this. I could see them greenlighting a lesser version of this. They cut the budget down to like $100 million or something like that. Co-produce it with another studio. Try and get enough of a boost behind it financially, where they don't have to spend a shit ton out of pocket, and maybe they can get all of that money back from overseas markets. Again, that's probably the best case scenario for this film, much like the first one. I don't think they're going to market it a shit ton to American audiences, because even though World of Warcraft is still the most popular MMORPG online, it's still kind of it's digressed to a point. It's stabilized. The amount of users on there has stabilized. Let's put it that way. The amount of users there has stabilized for years now, but at the same time, it hasn't really been growing either. It just spikes up whenever they release expansions for the game, because people want to get involved, and then eventually they get bored and they say fuck it and they leave. usually what I do with MMOs, actually, even when I did play WoW pretty consistently. Um, so I don't know if you're going to have the popularity aspect from the American audiences, and I don't think you have much of a fan base from the original film anyway, because it didn't make that much money in America. So to go forward with a film that would be that expensive, I think would be a bad idea. But I think if they reduced the budget, if they went with it and they tried to market it specifically to Chinese audiences, I think they could get away with making a profit on that. But at the same time, we're not really 100% sure how the box office works right now. So greenlighting a $200 million movie when you don't already have it planned is probably not the best idea. I think a lot of studios nowadays should probably be looking at downsizing in the terms of, do more projects but make them for less money. Go with the Corman model. Maybe not to that type of an extreme, but go with the Corman model. Make a film that costs less money, but you have a good director, you have good actors, you make everything else above average except for the budget. You try and get as good an actors as you can. You try and get as good a musician, sound people, music composers, stuff like that to score the film. Get a decent director who has a good eye. A lot of young directors are good to tap for those kind of things because not only do they need work, but there's a lot of them that don't get a shot for various reasons. You can be the facilitator for that. Again, a lot like Corman was for a lot of directors. People forget that James Cameron's first movie was Piranha 2, which again was a Corman film. That's where he learned a lot of the stuff that came in handy when he did stuff like Terminator. A lot of that movie was done on the cheap. I think the budget for that film was $20 million, and they made it look like it was worth about 50. There's a lot of different things you can do with that. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. But like I said, I don't necessarily put too much weight in this rumor until we see something official from Legendary, because I don't think that there's really a reason to go through with this unless they're deliberately aiming for the China money. But again, that's just my kind of opinion on this rumor. I want to know what yours is, though. Do you think that they are actually going to do a Warcraft 2? And what reasons might you think behind that? Or do you think that this is, full of bupkis, that Warcraft didn't make enough money to actually warrant a sequel, so this is just, somebody speculating or somebody trying to draw up interest or something like that? As usual, put your thoughts in the comments below. I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?